I think he's going to be a very dangerous pro, this kid.
Yeah, he's very balanced. Good midsection, full pecs, good delts, great legs.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. We are back with another installment of Heavy Muscle Radio on this September 4th, 2023 afternoon. I'm here with the technician, Chris Aceto, and we had a very long and successful North American Championships. By the way, it's still going on, Chris. They've actually have a Sunday now. It's like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 days, which I think is brilliant, by the way, by Gary Udit and Jim Mannion to keep that show over 5 days. You know why? Because it spreads it out. Otherwise, it's just too much.
Yeah, but we used to kid about it when it used to go, when it was 2 long days way back.
Too much.
We used to say, oh, we got to add a third, they're going to have to add a third day, and then completely ludicrous.
But no one else has done that.
We used to say 5 days just to be ridiculous, and here it is, 5 days.
It really could be a week. And you know what? The truth is, it's brilliant, and I'll tell you why. First of all, I think that Jim and Gary have a good deal with that Sheridan Station Square. I don't necessarily know if it even costs them anything to hold it there, because they bring so much business to the hotel, so they can afford to do that. Some obviously promoters can't afford to rent the venue for a whole week straight, but it's good because, number one, it's better for the judges because they don't have to judge as much every single day. It spreads it out. Although I don't know if I would want to judge 5 days in a row, but it is what it is. But it does spread it out. It's better for the competitors because they can come in and leave, on different days, which makes the hotel have more access to people staying there, because some people come in on Tuesday, they compete on Wednesday, leave Thursday, and then the people who are competing on the weekend come on Thursday. So, they can use the rooms, can be utilized better. And it just, like I said, it just spreads it out so that it's more enjoyable if you're going to watch the show to actually go see what you want to go see,
Well, so. It's funny. It's grown from, I went to the North American in 1989 in Vegas, when Vegas was not Vegas, Dave. It just had that old strip.
Yeah.
And what was funny about it is that, who sent me out? David Zeon. We were just talking about David Zeon.
Yeah.
David Zeon said, Chris, you go out. I'll pay for your hotel room. I was living in Los Angeles. I'll pay for your hotel room. I'll rent the car for you. You go out and sell clothes. I think they said Muscle Camp or something. Joeita's Muscle Camp.
That's and running the camps here.
I'll have a booth there, and then we'll split the profits or something like that. And I remember wow, Vegas, and I got in the car and drove out from Los Angeles to Vegas, and that's all there was that weird old strip, which is so weird compared to.
Is that where the Golden Nugget was?
Yeah, it was like it. The hotels were run down from the leftover from the 60s, and it was just bizarre. And I was thinking God, what's the big deal about Vegas? But Johnny Morant won, Linda Murray won.
Wow.
Johnny Morant beat Aaron Baker, who was just, it could have gone either way between him and Johnny Morant, but they looked incredible.
What show was that? North American?
North Americans, and it was it wasn't even a one-day event, Dave. It was start at 10, we're gone by 7. Goodbye. And
I gotta give you props, because a lot of people don't realize, the reason why you've been around the sport so long is not because you're 7 years old. you were doing this while you were a teenager. How you got in so tight with all those guys at 19 years old is unbelievable that you've been doing it that long, because there were no people 19 doing this stuff. I mean, you were a kid, basically.
Well, there was, you know what? I'll go back further, Dave. When I was the only, for David Zeon's booth, selling muscle camp clothing, because he had this bodybuilding muscle camp, which we can talk about. It ties in with George Foreman, and I just talked to David the other day, is that when I got there, I was the only booth. There was no other booth. So because I was like the only booth selling something, we sold out of, like, I went home with nothing, no clothes.
Oh,
no
really?
nothing.
Wow. That's
just
funny.
Money.
Did you have was it all cash?
It was all cash. And you know.
Who'd you give the envelope to?
I had a giant, I drove it right back to David's house, like immediately. Cause you know what? I had all this cash, Dave. And it was
you were scared, Howard.
And I was afraid, like, you know, what could happen between here and Los Angeles.
Yeah, no, you could have got mugged. Yeah.
And so I just like drove it right to his house and knocked on his door and said, and I said, Dave, here's the money. And
knowing you probably didn't even stop to eat. If I know you, probably just drove.
I did not stop to eat.
I would have at least stopped by the McDonald's drive-thru. You just went right back.
Yeah, and I didn't. What I didn't want is the responsibility of having like lost it or been robbed or something like that. So I brought it right to his house, and so he had, you know, we were just talking before the show. We had our reunion. David Zeon had this bodybuilding camp in like 86, 7, 8, 9, 91, 92, something like that. And I worked the summers there. And that's where I got to meet, like, I was talking to Hunter LeBron. I said, oh, yeah, I met you. You know, when you were a kid. He said, no, when you knew my father, I wasn't even born yet. Because I met Lee in 87 at the bodybuilding camp in California. And David Zeon, who started the camp, who went on to promote the Miss Olympia. And he did it on national TV, ESPN Live, as it was live, not pre-recorded.
Production that they did where they voted live, where Bev got screwed.
Yep. And he had it at the same venue where they have the Academy Awards in Los Angeles. So this is to describe like David Zeon's vision for bodybuilding.
Right. And
David Zeon told me in 1987, he said, when we had this bodybuilding camp, he said, I was 19. He said, I'm going to scale this up. And you were going to be a huge part of this company if you want to be part of this company. And I got all excited. And he said, or I'm going to become a Hollywood producer. And he had produced nothing at the time, I think. And right before the show started.
He did choose the right path, I got to tell you.
And right before the show started. By the way, when he promoted the Miss Olympia and it was on TV Live, the prize money was like huge.
Right. How come that didn't continue? What do you think happened with that whole thing?
I think he wanted to. Well, the answer is this. It's a great question. He wanted the Mr. Olympia.
Okay.
And who had their claws into that?
Who?
Wayne.
Oh, Wayne wouldn't give it up. Okay.
So I think David realized, like, okay, that title, you know, having that competition is, you know, not going to happen. So he went into producing movies. And right before I just talked to Dave Zeon 4 days ago, which was the first time since the 2001 Olympia, because he did the stagehand for he produced the 2001 Olympia. They brought him in to put the stage and stuff together.
Right.
And Dave Palumbo, right before we started, just said, hey, you got to watch this movie on Netflix. What'd you say, Dave?
I said you got to watch Big George Foreman. I said it's a great movie. Excuse me, I'm pulling it up here. And I said I saw it on Netflix yesterday because first of all, I love George Foreman. I know you like that whole era too, because you know Foreman fought Ali, and Foreman's got a great story because of the comeback he made. And you said I think David Zeon produced that movie. I'm like, what? I said I don't think so. And sure enough, I went and I looked at the credits, and there's David Zeon's name right there under produced by. So
and David did say on this, we did a Zoom call last week. He said the whoever starred as George Foreman gained 50 pounds for the.
No, it's funny because I was thinking that, you know, the actor was in terrific shape, you know, when he was played a young George Foreman. But it was the same actor who shaved his head and did the whole George Foreman transformation, and he had a big gut. I'm like, he pulled a De Niro in Raging Bull.
That's Dave told me how many. I think he was eating 80 some days 8,000 calories, whatever the number he threw.
He got fat. He was fat. This guy. I thought they put a prosthetic on him. He was so fat.
No,
George Foreman had that fat face. I mean, he gained the weight to do that. You can't fix the face, you know. And it was I watched it over like 4 days. I was watching it when I was in the gym, and this is what a sucker. I'm like Mr. No Emotion, right, on a normal basis. But if I watch a movie and I get sucked into it, all of a sudden all my like walls get taken down, and I get into the movie, the emotionality of the movie. And I was crying while I'm riding the stationary bike at the gym, Chris, like a little kid. Tears. I'm like trying to wipe the tears at my shirt because I'm embarrassed. I don't even know if anyone's looking at me, but I'm literally crying. This is because of some good scenes in the movie. And that's how good this movie was. And it felt like I would like to sneak out the back door almost because I was embarrassed after I would get off the treadmill or whatever I was doing for 20, 30 minutes. And I did it in 4 days, and it was I couldn't wait to see the end of it. And I know the whole story. It wasn't like I didn't know the story, but it was so well done that it was worth watching for sure.
It's funny. One last thing, Dave, to say, to brag about David Zeon. David Zeon is the type of person who, like, if my phone rang right now and said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do downtown Los Angeles, a 300-story building. It's going to be 3 times the height of the Burj," I'd be like, "Yeah, of course. Goodbye." In other words, his vision is always like dead on.
I think he'll win an award for this thing. I think he might win something for it because it was very well done.
I would love to see the speech because he's a great public speaker too.
They had a guy who played Ali in this movie, an actor who was the best actor I've ever seen to play with Ali. He might not have looked exactly like Muhammad Ali, but he had every shticky mannerism down. You're gonna love this. He was very good. He might get best supporting actor, this guy, for this movie, because this guy, he had Ali nailed. They even had a good guy who played Howard Cosell. Sounded just like him. So
they you know what? Ironically, Zeon knows Lonnie Teeper, so I think Lonnie Teeper may have tried out to be Howard Cosell.
Sid was white, he definitely would have made it because Sid could do Howard Cosell better than anyone. That's
who, sure. Sid can?
Oh yeah, well he already sounds like him a little bit anyway, you know. So yeah. It wouldn't be much of a stretch to get him to do the rest of it. But, you know, they did a very good job with the movie, and I thought it was pretty accurate. You know, there was a couple of things I would have liked to see them add, but you know, I understand for time's sake in making the movie move faster. You know, I think they did great. The guy who played his mother too, it was tremendous. She was amazing, and there was stuff I didn't know. I didn't know that Foreman had a whole like religious revelation, is what changed him, and you know he was a very angry, you know, man, and he used that rage, you know, in the ring, but it worked against him because, you know, Ali was a thinker, and he had to learn to be a thinker, you know, and not react to his, you know, emotions as much. And then he completely changed when he became a preacher. He had a revelation in like the shower after Jimmy Young beat him, and he said, "I'm not going to box anymore. I'm going to be a preacher." And everyone thought he was crazy. No one believed him because he was making good money, you know. And that was it for 10 years. And then I guess the guy who was who we knew from the work job program was his money manager. They stole all his money. The guy was a drunk, and he had to go back to boxing. He didn't want to. Mm-hmm. He didn't have a choice. So it's a good, really good story. So I advise people go watch it.
Did they in the movie? Do they say how much he made from the George Foreman grill?
No, but you know it's funny because when he fought. I'm trying to think who he fought.
Every bodybuilder had the George Foreman grill at one point.
Yeah, he's at the bank, and the bank is like, you know, that grill thing you're doing is the checks are coming in pretty good. You know? And he's like, really? You know, I think he sold his stake in that grill at some point for $137 million. Yeah. You know. But he didn't have $2,000 in his bank account. They were going to lose. He had a youth center in a church. He was going to lose it all. He had no way. He couldn't make enough money, you know, doing like little silly things. He had to go back to boxing. And you know, I guess when he fought Holyfield, If you remember, he fought Evander Holyfield.
Great fight. Great fight.
Yeah, and he rocked Holyfield a couple of times, you know,
Yes,
and when he went to the bank with his wife, you know, to see if the money had come in, because they were like desperate. They were like, they were going to lose the church. They were going to lose the youth center he had for the kids. And he said to the banking guy, he goes, did the check from Holyfield come in? And he's like, oh yeah, he came in. He's like, how much? He's like, here. So George is looking at the thing, and his wife's like, what's the matter? Like she thought they got screwed. It was like he made $10 million off the fight. It was based on, you know, whatever the pay-per-views were and everything like that. He didn't know how much he had made. And he's like, you could pay for the youth center for the rest of your life with this money. He said, don't worry, but you don't have to box again. And so the wife thought that was it. He was going to stop after that. But she had some kind of a vision, a dream that he was going to win the championship belt again. He's like, well, you know, and he was all about God. And he's like, I got to keep going. He really believed he was going to regain that heavyweight title. It wasn't just a fluke. Like, he knew he was going to do it, you know? So, and it took him 3 more years before he got that fight with Moore. So crazy. And he was 45. You know, he's the oldest heavyweight champion of all time.
Yeah.
To win the title. Him and Sean Roden. But, and no one had ever come back after a 10-year layoff, you know, and
well, that's the whole. I mean, we talk in any sport. I mean, we talk in sport, bodybuilding. Like, how many bodybuilders come on the show and say, "Well, I took 2 years off. I never got my density back."
Right.
You know,
10 years. He was so out of shape.
Yeah.
But it helped him because, you know what, he had a sense of humor about himself, and everyone loved him because he was the bald-headed fat guy, you know, and now everyone can relate to him. Whereas before he was this angry, you know, just, you know, ripped looking, you know, crazy athlete. Like, people hated him. He was like the bad guy, you know, and that's why they loved that Ali beat him, you know. But after that, it was like he was a different person almost. It was unbelievable, you know. Yeah. He recreated himself. Not many people can do that. So, speaking of people who've recreated themselves, did you see the guy who won the North American? What a crazy physique he's got.
Yeah.
Let's pull him up. All right. I'm super impressed. You know, Kennedy Anewanu, also known as Collusus Ken on Instagram. Let me pull this picture up here. I love that people have they create their own nicknames now by doing their own Instagram, like Andrew Jacked, right? Goodvito. Who think about Goodvito? We'll talk about him in a minute, by the way. But there he is. I think he's going to be a very dangerous pro. This kid.
Yeah, he's very balanced. Good midsection, full pecs, good delts, great legs.
Yeah, Mullis is the first person to comment on this here. Says he's going to be a successful pro too. If Milo says it, must be true. Let's see. Here's his routine. I mean, he kind of looks a little bit like a Blessing with better legs, you know.
Yeah, Blessing's got a better taper. Blessing's got that wacky taper.
Yeah, but this guy's got really good flary quads.
He's only 20 this kid. I'm just kidding, Dave.
No way. Andrew Vu coaches him. Really nice.
Yeah, great side tricep. Can't do that side tricep anymore, but go ahead.
Yeah, I don't like that. You know, who was the guy who really made that? Was that a Flex Wheeler or was that a Roden thing? I think Flex used to do it too.
Flex used to do it. Flex Lewis did it his whole career. Flex Lewis went through a whole entire career, never hit a side tricep. A side tricep.
I think that I like to see the conventional side tricep, but then at the very end, if you just sneak that in, that's fine. But you can't hit that as your side tricep, as far as I you know, that's why they're clamping down on that. So I think we got a star in the making here. That's for sure. He's probably the best, you know, national champion that we've seen, I would think, in the last couple of years. Would you agree with that?
I don't know, because I don't want to leave people out, you know.
No, I'm not saying the other guys are bad. I'm saying I think he might be the best one, though, that's going to come out. As you know, a lot of these guys went on to be good pros because they added more muscle. I think he's ready to be a good pro right now.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be competitive in a pretty good pro show. It's hard to say, you know, because it's just hard to say until you see people next to each other. But you know, by himself, right there, he looks very complete, very balanced, very conditioned, round, not missing any body parts.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good overall look, you know.
Yes, key right there is overall look. You know what? That overall looks is what wins competitions. Unless you get
Imagine
to
that.
Olympia where it's we mass is just so important. But
I'll get him on the show.
overall looks can win pro shows.
Yeah, I'm going to get him on the show this week. He definitely deserves an interview. That's for sure. Really good. You know, it's nice to see that there is still a lot of talent coming up in bodybuilding. People always say, bodybuilding's dead. It's all about classic and men's physique. I don't buy that. You know, there never was a lot of guys, even in the 90s. Look, the 90s was like everyone says the heyday, but it wasn't like there were 10 guys that were great every single year. You know, you got a couple of guys every year being added to the mix. That's what it was over, 10 years. And that's why you had, maybe 15 good, really, really good guys competing against each other. But they were peppered in. It's not like every year you had this crazy class of
Dave,
people.
I think part of that mystique is that the longevity of the bodybuilders through the 90s was, you had like Cormier, Jay, Sean Ray, Flex. People competed for years. You know what I mean? Where people still do compete for a long time, but sometimes you have guys who are good for like 5 and 6 years and then they retire. Whereas then, it wasn't uncommon to have people go through an entire decade. If Milos hadn't taken that 1 year off, he'd keep going.
He'd still be competing today. Yeah.
Huh?
He'd still be competing today.
He is competing today. He's competing through everybody else.
That's what we do as coaches, right? You've been doing that for years. Yeah. People are like, how come Chris doesn't work out? I said, because he works out through his clients.
Yeah.
Let me pull up this guy's picture. Elias McCall wins the super heavyweight class. He's pretty impressive too. I don't know. Have you looked at this picture?
Yeah.
I'll pull him up.
I thought he looked good.
What I wanted to ask was, what made you think? Why does Kennedy?
Because Kennedy, because you use the word overall to describe Kennedy, which means like lack of weaknesses.
Right.
And when you have lack of weaknesses and you're in really good condition, you can beat people with a lot more weight, with a lot more muscle, with wider than you.
Yeah. It's amazing when I remember when Johnny Jackson, I think he was a light heavyweight, right? When he won the nationals.
Dave, I just saw Johnny Jackson. I can text you his picture. He was at the Texas. He sat next to me for the prejudge, and Johnny Jackson. Really? I said, Johnny, I'm amending. Jay is still the best, well-kept, retired bodybuilder, but Johnny Jackson is still big. He's still lean, and he looks ridiculously young.
He doesn't have a wrinkle on his face. The guy,
he looked
like that till he's 90. Yeah.
Dave, not even the beginning of a wrinkle.
I told him that the other day. I told him when I had him on the show, maybe about a year or two ago. I said, I got to tell you, Johnny, I think you're the same age as me, but I said, I don't see a wrinkle on your face. It's unbelievable. That's why when he grew that beard, I said, you got to get rid of that beard. People grow beards because they have bad skin or they have wrinkles and they're trying to cover up. You don't have any of that, I said.
Yeah, my son took about my son. Who took it? Maybe it wasn't my son. My son wasn't there. Someone took about 7 or 8 pictures of me running into Johnny, and they're great.
Oh, really?
They're candid, like it's like my face going like Johnny, and like stepping back and then looking close at his face and then touching his face, because all of it. If it was a video, I said, you haven't aged one bit.
But he won that 2000, I think it was 2000 nationals, right?
Yeah,
something like that. I mean, he was a light heavyweight.
Yeah, but he was great.
He was insane, that show. So people don't realize that, because they know Johnny Jackson is the, big pro, but he was 198 pounds. He was, like
he was
people don't realize that
and he
Dexter
was
won. Dexter won the North American at 188 pounds as a light heavyweight. He gave up 10 pounds to everyone. He still won the overall. You know, if you remember that. What year was that? 98.
Dexter
right?
won it.
98.
Was it 98?
I'm pretty sure it was. Either 98 or 96 or 7 or something. I don't know.
By 2000, by 2004, he was coming on strong, Dexter.
Yeah, but that's you know, look, if you got talent for bodybuilding, it doesn't even matter, you know, how big you are. If you can put the size on and do what it takes to you know, add the size and you have the genetic potential to do it, you're going to be a great bodybuilder, because bodybuilding at the highest level is about structure, shape, symmetry. And then if you have the mindset to push your body, you know, to the ultimate limit. Problem is, a lot of guys who have all those gifts kind of coast on those gifts, and they don't really push as hard as they should, and so they never really achieve, you know, the accolades that they could. And that's just human nature, right? Why work hard if it's coming easy and you're winning shows anyway? That's just human nature. But there are some people that have those gifts and they work hard. Ronnie Coleman, you know, Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, and that's why they achieved greatness in the sport. Lee Haney. So for every guy that, you know, I used to see backstage at the USA or Nationals, that I said these guys should definitely be beating me, but never did, because they just weren't conditioned enough, or, you know, they didn't really maximize their potential. And, you know, I remember Doug Wentz used to bring back the tapes, you know, the VHS tapes from the shows he would do, Junior Nationals, USA. This was back in the early 90s, before I started really getting, you know, into the national scene. And we would watch these in his house. I'm like, who's this guy? He's like, Dave, he goes, it's scary to see some of these guys' upper bodies. He goes, but when they turned around, they had no conditioning in their glutes and hamstring. He said, you know, or their lower back and stuff like that. He said, but from the front, he goes, they could have won the Olympia. He said, some of these guys.
Speaking of, which is the VHS, did you see the Jerry Scalise posted that? You're right, David. It was an 8mm video that Bob Ruskin made of him.
I knew it.
When he was 19, and he had Jerry says he hadn't trained with weights. I think he trained with like cinder blocks and chin ups and pull ups. He didn't have weights. Yeah. What Bob was probably experimenting with the original video cameras, right? Yeah. I didn't even know Bob owned an 8mm video camera. He probably you know, traded it in for a you know, when they came out with the first like camcorders. I'm sure he had one of those, right? I can't remember him with the camera. I only remember the cameras, but yeah, because I think he liked the whole art form, right, of the camera. Yeah, of course. Trying to see if Jerry posted. I don't think Jerry posted that video. Oh, he did. He posted on his Instagram. Oh, on his I didn't even know he had Instagram. Hold on. This is Dave's going to post Jerry Scalise, who won the NABBA Universe from Long Island. This is him at 19, just fiddling around in his basement with cinder blocks and chin-ups and push-ups, not knowing what he's doing, eating tuna fish. We all ate tuna fish back then. Huh? We all ate tuna fish back then. Yeah, nobody. You don't hear any guys eating tuna fish anymore. What is that? Ask Jay. A lot of Jay and DeMayo's first diets I put them on had tuna fish in it. Can of tuna. I ate like 3-4 cans a day sometimes, Chris. Jerry's for some reason Instagram is private. I don't know why. Really? Yeah. Maybe you're not right. He looks unbelievable. Even Jerry's Facebook is really good. He's got a lot. He puts a lot of the old pictures on there, you know. But he looked unbelievable at 19. Too bad you can't get that Instagram. That's why I want people to see how good someone looked at 19. You know, Jerry was a freak. That's for sure. Anyway, all right. Let's get back to the North Americans, and then I want to talk about some other stuff too. All right. Pull up the classic. Did you look at the classic physique winner? I did. What do you think? More of the same. Everyone looked good. I mean it. You know, just there's a lot of depth, and you know when you don't put, you know, the division is really impressive when you look and you go, you're like, so what? In other words, just what I expected. A lot of good guys. Isn't that strange?
I'm very impressed, Chris, with the conditioning that I'm seeing in a lot of these guys, today, because for a while we were getting guys that were just coming in full, that which really just means fat to me. Look at this, guys. Look at the glutes, the hamstrings.
Oh, it looks, yeah.
You know what I mean? That shows me that the guy suffered, and suffering is important if you want to be your best, That's Daniel Tabib, who won the men's classic physique overall. I'll pull up some more pictures. It's really good. How far do you think this guy can go?
Post the front shots and I'll tell you.
I'm going to pull it up right now. Hold up. Thank you for NPC News Online for the great pictures. And,
I think he looks,
he looks tall, doesn't he? Really tall.
Well, he's just impressive. He's round and in very good shape. And, a lot of people pull a vacuum. Just because you pull a vacuum doesn't mean you have a classic lines.
No.
You know what I mean? He looks like, classic lines in that shot.
I'll give you a good back shot. I mean, the guy, like I said, I'm a conditioning freak. So when I see really good conditioning, I'm like, it's like I want to give the guy everything, because I appreciate the fact. Look at those glutes. I appreciate the fact that people train this hard. Isn't it ironic, Chris, that we started? People probably don't even remember, even though it's only been a couple of years ago. Classic physique started with basically spandex bike shorts.
Yeah.
You couldn't see glutes. They didn't want to judge glutes. Remember, they didn't want to, and you were even very against that.
Yeah,
too. Like, oh, it shouldn't be a glute show.
Yeah, now it's mind.
Now it's included. Well, it's bodybuilding. That's why. So you got to, it's basically another bodybuilding division. So why cover a body part? It doesn't make sense. But what happens is people start to see these guys and say, wait a minute, the bodybuilders are bigger. Yeah, of course they're bigger. It's bodybuilding. This is classic physique, and there's a weight cap. But I think he's really good. I think he's very complete.
I think his glutes and hams are off the charts.
Yeah. He's in really good shape. And, that goes a long way. Only time will tell if he obviously is going to, be a contender, as they say, as my father would say. Yeah. All right. But I lost Chris here. All right, he'll come back. We're going to talk also a little bit about the what happened with Amo Height, who passed away over the weekend. Chris Cormier used to date her. They have a son together. It was a tragic. I don't know if you've seen my video on her death, but obviously she fell, and supposedly they're calling it a blood clot, but terrible loss in our industry. I know Chris is very broken up, and I know our son is very upset. We'll pull that up in a minute. When Chris comes back, continue with the North American Championships. I want to just give a shout out once again to Gary Udit, who did a tremendous job putting this together. As always, they do a great job at that show. And you know what? It's if you ever want to go to a really well-run show, that's it. It's a long show, but if you want to go and see how every division is run in one show, which I don't know how they even do it. I take my hat off to the judges too, because it's a lot of work to be able to judge that many people accurately, and people doing multiple divisions and all that stuff. So, all right, let me pull up our light heavyweight champ here. This is Joe Carlile. And once again, I think the name of this show was conditioning. Chris, I'm pulling up the our light heavyweight champion here.
Yeah.
Oop, no, that's not him. Hold on. That's not him. Let me pull up this picture. I was just saying that, the name of this show, if you want to put a theme on the show, it's about conditioning, because this is probably the most conditioned I've seen the top guys in the divisions in a long time. It reminds me almost of it. I mean, the North American is really the nationals in the USA. They're all kind of equal now to each other, I think. Mm-hmm. Whereas North American never was a very deep show. It seems like the depth of the show has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And I mean, this guy is just gnarly hard, right?
Yeah. What's his name, Dave?
This is Joe Carlile.
Okay, I want to be able to pull up all the pictures.
You'll like this. Let me show you a side tricep. This guy actually hits a side tricep like the real way. This actually, I call it the Dorian Yates pose. I don't know if Dorian kind of invented this, but he made it popular. This shot. They hit it this way. Hold on. There we go. You got to have big calves to be able to hit the side tricep, right? With that leg back.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it looks terrible. You know, Yates had those enormous calves. This guy has those monster calves too. This guy is going to be a good 212 guy. I got news for you. At 198 pounds here, I mean, that's pretty impressive. He's got a little bit of gyno he's got to get taken out, but once that's done, I think he's going to be very, very dangerous in that 212.
He's got room. He's got room in the class to continue to get bigger.
Well, he's only in 198 pounds here. He's got another, another 14 pounds to gain. Wait till you see this back double bicep I'm going to pull up. Can you hear me, Chris?
I can hear you.
Okay, here we go. Wait,
wait,
want to make sure we didn't lose you. Look at this back double. Hold on. This might be the most impressive back double in the whole show. I mean, that's gnarly hard.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee there's no filters on those pictures.
Dave, what's the name again?
Joe Carlile.
You sure it's Joe Carlile?
That's what it says. That's what it says in the NPC News.
Okay.
Unless they got the wrong name, I don't think so.
No, I don't.
Why do you think it's someone else?
I'm just looking for on the NPC News under earn pro cards. I don't see it.
They might have just left them. They might have just left them off the list.
Okay.
Yeah, because I looked up his Instagram here. He's on Instagram here. Yeah, I'll pull up his Instagram thing.
Maybe he can get a visa to go to Spain.
I would jump into 212 before the Olympia, wouldn't you? If I were him.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, he's good.
Why not?
I mean, he's dense. I mean, look at those calves. Those calves, glutes and hamstrings, back double. That's just gnarly, freaky. Use a little more back mass, but I think out of all the 212 guys out there, I think that he would certainly stack up. I mean, I think he could be like a top 5 guy right off the bat.
You mean in a 212 pro show? Yeah,
the pro show for sure.
Yeah,
I think he could. We've seen some shows that he could have won probably, this year.
Well, you never. You know what the problem is? It shows you never know who's going to show up. I don't mean that there's a problem, but
look, I use Guy Cisternino as an example because Guy certainly didn't have the best genetics of 212 guys, but this guy never showed up out of shape. He was always shredded to the bone, and he won a lot of pro shows because of that. And he improved obviously constantly throughout his career, and that's why he was a top 5 Olympian.
Guy won, I believe, 6 shows, possibly 8, but 6 I know for sure, and that means there were multiple seconds, and he would tell you the scorecards because lots of those were by a point. He knows it.
But I remember when I first started, I worked with him. You worked with him in his pro career. I worked with him in his amateur career when we turned pro at middleweight. And I remember he came to me. He was all upset because I don't remember who told him. Someone told me he'd never be a pro. I said, "What do you? Don't listen to anyone. You just started." I said, "How can anyone possibly know if you could be a pro or not?" I said, "Do not take that thought out of your head." I said,
Dave, do you think when Dave Zeon said I'm going to be I'm going to scale up this bodybuilding camp, or I might be a Hollywood producer. If I do that, I'm going to be good at it. Do you think he cared if someone told him, "Oh, you're not going to be a Hollywood producer. You don't have any experience"?
No, of course not. Of course not. Hey, so to take a break from North American for a second. What's going on with Goodvito? Why is he competing in Italy?
I'll scare Milo's hair. Milo's hair is his visa right here. So he does have his visa. I'm just kidding.
What happened? Give us what happened.
He
was looking freaky.
His visa was rejected.
And now
That's all
explain.
I know. I don't know.
You know, I
anything
didn't
other
know
than-
this, but Goodvito is from Russia originally, and he moved to Brazil, right? He got married there. He's got a kid. And
No,
so
he
does he have
got
a
married
Russian
there.
passport
He
or does he have a
You're
Brazilian
getting,
passport?
Dave, you're getting the order. He moved there, then he got married, and he has a child on the way, which is due like next
Oh,
week.
all right. Well, I'm technically right. So does he have a Brazilian passport now or a Russian one?
No, I'm sure he has. No, he has a right. Wherever he's from, he does not. You can't get a Brazilian passport by living there for 1 year.
Well, why not? If you're married, don't you get like citizenship or something like that?
Wait, do you think this day and age with like the bureaucracy? Oh, I'm married. Okay, good. Here's a passport.
Well, I know in the United States it might not be that easy, but in Brazil they might want. He's a top athlete. He might have gotten preferential treatment. I thought.
No, I wish Lulu, who is the president there, could intervene.
Right.
Leftist Lulu could have intervened, and because they have a good relationship, Brazil now with Russia. So, but I guess maybe not with Italy.
I mean, he's very. I mean, this is the best I've ever seen him because I've always, we always see Goodvito like very impressive, but he's never like in like shape. Never shredded. And you got him. He's peeled here. I mean, this is gnarly, ridiculous.
Look at those hams.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So, what does he do now?
And he's only 5'2", according to Milos, by the way.
Isn't he like 5'10"?
He's like 5'10".
He does appear short in pictures for some reason, and not in these pictures, but I think when he originally started competing, he would squat down really low on like side chest and stuff like that. That was just his like thing, and it made him look short. But he doesn't look short in these pictures to me at all. And
Dave, look at on my Instagram the back lat spread. Yeah. In non-phony lighting.
So, all right. So he doesn't get the visa. It seems like a little last minute, but he doesn't get the visa. So what's his plan of attack now? Where does he go?
I think the only options are like I think there's something in Romania, and then the legions, and
right.
The legions make sense only because he already has a visa for the U.S. Whereas, what happens if you apply to compete somewhere else, like Romania, and they say, "Oh, no go."
Right. No. Yeah. If he already got rejected from one country over there in Europe, it's likely that he might get rejected from another one. I mean, I guess you could try. I mean, but the Legion Sports Fest would make absolute sense if he can get into the United States. And he'll probably get way more publicity from doing that show, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do we know who's going to be in that show?
I don't know. I don't know who's in the show. I'm sure it'll be stacked, but
well, it's only going to be stacked with people who need to qualify at the last minute.
Yeah. But he's dangerous in any show.
I agree.
I mean,
I agree. Can he hold this conditioning for another couple of weeks?
I think he can. I think he can because that's always subjective. He has a kid coming up. I think having a child would probably actually help.
No, it won't. No, it won't. No, it won't.
Really?
No. I think he better do the show before that kid comes. When's the kid?
Well, there's nothing in between, Dave. Having a child either like helps you like super focus, or you just get so like you all like head over heels for your child that you just like, well.
I'll tell you. I interviewed Kamala Gargani, who won the Masters Olympia. Who, Chris, very well, obviously, you've coached him for many years. Kamal told me, because I asked him, what's the secret of his success? I said, how do you do all these shows? You're 53 years old. He's like, when I get ready for a show, my wife tells me, you do what you have to do. I will do everything else. I'll take care of the kids. I'll shop, cook, whatever, take whatever I got to do. I do. You just worry about competing. That's why Kamal is successful. Not many women will do that. I got news for you. Especially with young kids. Because it's a lot of work. Your wife has kids. We have young kids. that's why Kamal's able to do what he does. And you know what? Maybe Goodvito's wife will be the same way and say, hey, you do your bodybuilding, I'll take care of the child, and if that's the case, then okay, he can do it. But a lot of times, women give birth, they need help, and it's, the first couple months of a baby is brutal,
Yeah.
So hopefully he gets this show in before the baby comes. But congratulations, Goodvito, on having a baby. How old is he?
Just turned 26.
Whoa, glutton for punishment. But sometimes it's good. The good thing about having a kid young is that, when your kid is in school, you're still in the prime of your life. You can still do stuff. And the bad thing about having a kid that young is it kind of definitely holds you back in terms of where you can go and things you can do because, you're limited, Whereas, I was gallivanting around the universe, as Captain Kirk would say, for my 20s, 30s, and 40s, because I didn't have that, really happening until my late 40s. And then I started having kids. So it's a trade-off. So now I'm just like an old guy, with kids like you are. Chris gets accused of being his son's grandfather, right? At the park.
Yeah, all the time.
And the funny thing is you don't even look old. You look like you did when you were 25.
No, it's only on the playground when you're with kids who are like 18. Right. Someone's got like a 2-year-old and the guy's like 19, 20, or 21. I got a 4-year-old and I'm 57.
Yeah, you're way too mature for your own good. But that's that
I try to wear a baseball hat sideways, Dave, onto the playground. Put a fake tattoo on my neck. Try to blend in.
Yeah. Right. You're right. Right. Let me. I mentioned when we lost you before, briefly, that we lost another person in our industry. She was a fitness model. Chris Cormier used to date her. Amo Height passed, 49 years of age.
Saw that.
Yeah.
How'd she pass away, Dave? Do you know?
Chris told me that because Chris was still talking to her.
Yeah.
She fell. I don't know if she slipped on stairs and I don't know if she hit her head or what. They wanted her to go to the hospital. She didn't want to go. She went to bed, woke up the next morning. And I think about an hour after she had woken up, she just collapsed and died. Seems like they're calling it a blood clot, Chris said. So there must have been some damage done. That's why it's important if you do fall and hit your head or something like that, that you get like a CT scan or something like that, just to make sure there isn't a clot or something that, sometimes you can get it, break a blood vessel in your head or something like that. It could be pressure there. It was a freak accident, and it's really sad because, it was unavoidable. I know her. I know the son, Chris's son, because Chris had put me in touch with the son because the son was in college and he wanted to buy a boa constrictor. And so I sold him a snake, and really, really nice kid, smart kid. I'm sure he's hurting. He was very close with his mom. Thank God Chris will be there, hopefully, to help him, get through this, at least emotionally. But terrible, terrible. When anything happens, whenever anyone loses a parent, it's terrible. It doesn't matter what age is that. It could be, it could be at 80 years old, you lose your parent. Who's 100 years old, it hurts just as much, So that's Amo Height. I remember when she first came on the scene, and I was like, wow, because she did a lot of like spreads in magazines and stuff like that, and she was very popular, and very pretty girl. Chris, believe it or not, met her at FIBO, and they were dating after 10 minutes of meeting each other. There was obviously an attraction there. He actually sent me video I put up. Let me see if I can pull it up of Dorian Yates and Flex Wheeler, him posing on stage at FIBO. And they had the girls. I don't know why they had girls out there with them, but she was out there and Chris was kind of hanging out with her. You can tell. And Dorian's like all business, Dorian when he was
yeah.
He was the only guy with no girl on. They must have sent the guys out there with like a girl on their arm, to kind of impress the crowd. Dorian was there all by himself. He didn't have any women on his arm.
Cormier would turn the FIBO into like a pleasure trip, and Dorian would it was a burden to Dorian to take him away from the train.
That's right. So anyway, Send our prayers, condolences out to her family. It's terrible to lose another one. I saw we lost what's his name too? What's that guy? Yeah, we were just talking about earlier.
Bob Barker.
Bob Barker, yeah, died. Yeah.
So did Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett too. Yeah, you know, Dave Lieberman and I had this like relationship, like we're kind of friends, and we'll talk to each other. But we text mostly, and every time someone dies, either I send him the text or he sends me the text. I'm like, Dave, every time we get a text from each other, it's someone's dying, and I said we get way too many texts like that from each other. He's like, I know, it's terrible. But who's this billionaire who died here? Oh, Buffett was it.
Who owned Harrods.
I didn't know. Did you know Jimmy Buffett was a billionaire?
Yeah. Crazy, right?
I didn't know that. How did he make so much money?
He, between recordings, and he had the hotels and he had a lot of real estate in wherever the Keys.
I didn't know that. Pull this up.
He was a developer. He was in real estate. There you go.
I didn't know that. There you go.
I think he made like 10% of his money from his music, and the rest from, real estate and all that stuff that he did down in.
Yeah, I didn't know he was a billionaire. So that's good. Good for him. One of these days, I hope one of these days I'm announcing that, and I hope you're not doing the announcing. I hope I'm doing the announcing. Not that I want to, see you die or anything like that, but I'd like to announce your death rather than you announce my death. I'll say Chris Aceto, billionaire real estate mogul. People will be like, we didn't know Chris had $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wound up buying he bought the Empire State Building at one point and then resold it to Donald Trump, and made his billions. So he bought, and then he took the money that he made from the Empire State Building, and he bought Napoleon's hat from Eric Reader.
You left me speechless, Dave, because I'm not afraid of dying, but I just, you worry about your kids, right?
Yeah. I think you and I will probably live to like a very old age, and we'll just be in an old age home together, and they'll be like, oh yeah, those guys are still alive. Yeah, I figured they like Bob Barker. Bob Barker, what was he, like 96 or something like that?
From The Price is Right.
Yeah. I mean, people knew that he wasn't. A lot of people probably thought he had passed already, that he wasn't even alive. Bob Barker.
He came up in the time where he had the pretty girls on the sets.
Oh my God, yeah.
And supposedly there was a little bit of stuff going on behind the set.
Yeah, well, I don't doubt it. I mean, this.
But he came up in a different political climate back then.
99, died of natural causes. Good for him. He made a lot of money. He had, he was the guy who provides all the food for the prisons. He had that contract. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He all the food service that goes through the commissary, that was him. I don't even know how he got involved with that, to be honest with you, but that's where he made a lot of his money. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a billionaire, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Unbelievable. He had a good life. Even his publicist said that's exactly what he said. He had a wonderful life. He was one of these. He was only a few months shy of his 100th birthday. Yeah. I think 99 sounds better than 100 anyway.
Why is that?
I wouldn't mind living to 99. After that, how much more do you want to live after 99? If you had to pick, like, if I said to you, hey, Chris, you could live to 99 and be, full faculties and be good, or I could extend your life to 120 years, but you're probably going to be in in an old age home, and you're probably not going to be able to get around too well. Would you choose the 99 over 120?
Yeah, I'd hedge it even lower.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'd hedge it way lower. I'd hedge it to 75 if I had my faculties, because without your faculties, what do you have? If you've ever been to a home for people with dementia or Alzheimer's, it'd be every single one of those people, though they're not aware, I think, that they would say, I'd rather be here with no legs whatsoever, just one arm, but with full faculties as opposed to no faculties.
Yeah.
And 2 arms and 2 legs. Because when you have no faculties, there's no emotion, there's no recognition, there's no conversation, there's no awareness. All of it is out the,
Yeah, no, you're right. You're 100% right.
And what's even bizarre there, Dave, is sometimes when you go to those places, you might see someone, like I went and I knew my father had dementia and, barely knew anything anymore. And, physically he looked like he had dementia, but there were other people who he grew up with. They looked 100% spot on like they did 20 years ago and dressed to the nines and well-groomed. And you ask them one thing and that's it. They have nothing.
Right.
It reminded me of you remember Planet of the Apes when they did the lobotomy on the people?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what it reminded me of. Which was probably one of your favorite movies, Dave, I'm sure.
I did like the original Planet. The original Planet of the Apes, yeah. With what's his name? Charlton Heston?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love when the final scene when they see the Statue of Liberty. That's that's it blows everyone's mind, that scene. So
yeah.
If you haven't seen it, I don't want to ruin it for you, but go. I guess I just ruined it. So I want to ask you one question. Obviously now Goodvito is not doing the Italian show this coming weekend. Reagan Grimes has to be considered obviously the favorite. What are you thinking? Is this his show?
Yeah, I'd say it's his show. Because I would say that that show would have come down to him and Goodvito. So I think it becomes he becomes the obvious favorite. I mean, I don't want to discount the other people in the show, and I don't even know who is in the show. But Reagan's won shows before. He's won a couple shows. Obviously, he's improved. He's bigger than he's been. So if you've already won a couple shows and you're bigger than you've been, chances of you being the odds-on favorite are pretty good.
How tall is Reagan? What is he, like 6'1"?
He's 5'2", Milos. Reagan is about 6, I think. 6 feet.
I gotta hand it to him and Milos. He definitely put a lot of size on, from over the last 2 years. I mean, there's no doubt about that this guy grew. I don't know if he ever really tried to put the size on prior to that, like with the level of dedication that him and Milos have been doing these last 2 years. I'll give you something about Milos. Milos is a very good motivator because, Milos believes in his techniques and Milos gets you excited about what you're doing. And I think that he got, he believed in Reagan. He got him excited and it whatever he did worked because the guy is, I mean, you told me this when you first started working with him when he was young. You said this guy has got good potential, to be a really good pro. If, whether he realizes that potential or not, I don't know. But because I remember he had gone to Oxygen Gym for a little while and then he came back because he really didn't like it there. And so then he wanted to do like classic, right, for a while. And then he went back to open.
He wanted to do board shorts. I have a picture of him doing board shorts in my.
Oh, really? Yeah. See, he was kind of like one of these, not sure about what he wants to do guys. And then he rededicated himself to bodybuilding. And obviously here's the potential that you saw in him, all those years ago. How does this guy, you think, do on the Olympia stage? I mean, where does he fit into that whole,
I have to see him. I have to see him in Italy first, because, simple as that. You have to see the way he looks. But he's got height, he's got width, he's got taper. Those are all calling cards for doing really good. He's got flow.
Yeah.
He gets in really good condition, different levels of condition. Sometimes he's in better condition, like everyone else. Sometimes he's in better condition than other shows. And
you can't base it on Instagram, like you said, because of filters and all that.
You can't post anything on Instagram. Nothing at all from Instagram. Yeah. It's like Instagram is like going to look at condominiums, downtown Boston, and every one of them looks great. Dave, I went. I'll send you the pictures.
Like AI bodybuilding, right?
I went and I saw a prime location brownstone 5 units on Friday.
Right.
And my wife went to look at it first because we had the kids in the car and this and that. And she walked right by me. Didn't even say a word. And I was like, gosh, it can't be that bad. I'm going by the pictures on the, the filtered pictures. When I went in there, I looked left and looked right. And I thought, am I in the same place?
Really bad. Huh?
Yeah. It was crazy. So, and
they probably wanted a lot of money for it too, right?
I thought of bodybuilding. I thought like, oh my goodness, this is like, the same photos that people put up on Instagram. This is the photographer put the pictures up on the MLS that look like dynamite. And when you get there, you're like, I told her, of course, I said, you're better off just taking regular pictures and put them up so you don't change people's expectations. At least I didn't get into. Now it's like, you're going to get everybody giving you a lowball offer.
They don't even filter the pictures. It's just the angles. It's like bodybuilding. It's all about angles.
No,
you get the right angle. You can make a shitty place look like it's amazing, right?
They do wider lens. They change the coloring a little bit. The tint.
I remember when I was trying to sell my house in Seaford. You've been to that house on the water there, and it was like a lull in the real estate market. And I said, I'm not selling it because they wanted me to list it at a very low price. I'm like, there's no way this house is. She's like, fine. You know how we're going to sell this? We're going to sell this on the View. They must have taken about 5 pictures of that view outside my back window there, the whole, the bay and everything like that. And that's what sold it.
You know what, Dave? You can sell your old house on the View, and somebody just driving by with a jet ski and like a having a drink on the jet ski. People are like, oh, you mean you can just pull the jet skis right up to the house? Yeah, you can do that.
I would wake up in the morning and Chris would be on my deck and drinking his cup of coffee and just
right. I would enjoy the deck, and I'd say, Dave, how often do you use this deck? He'd say, never.
Chris would be out there for like an hour. I'm like, what are you doing out there? He's like, I'm enjoying
the view.
Yeah.
I asked you how often do you come out here, and your answer was never.
No, I'm always working. That's why. That's when we were traveling every weekend. It was crazy. So, but.
It's like, Dave, Jay's friend came up to Old Orchard Beach when I used to live on the beach, and Jay's friend said, who's the biggest workaholic of all time.
Right.
If I lived on here, I would be out on that beach every single day. Yeah. He said to me, when's the last time you went walking that beach? I said, I think like 2 years ago.
Is it, you ever see these like celebrities who have these enormous houses like beautiful. They don't even know what, like, they can't even tell you what's in each room because they're never in the house. They go to one room, they're there for a weekend, then they're back in another house in LA. It's true. The wealthier you get and the more, successful you are in business, the less you actually enjoy all the stuff you have. I enjoyed my cars. Okay. My first like real cars that I bought, like BMWs and stuff like that, when I first got them, because I would clean them every day and I would take them. I was just in love with these cars because I didn't have anything else to do. I would go to the gym and train, but I didn't have a million places I had to be and do and businesses and stuff like that. So, sometimes, when you start getting a lot of stuff, you don't even appreciate it anymore. And that's sometimes it's better to scale back and kind of get rid of the clutter, so to speak, that you have.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right.
And on those wise words, I think we're going to wrap up today. Congratulations to all our winners at the North American Championships, both in the amateur and the pro division. We'll get our overall winner on the show this coming week for sure. We have a special edition of After Hours. You're not going to want to miss that, live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard on Tuesday. And there's a bunch of good interviews I did this past week, so they'll be up on the site as well. Check them out. As we say every week here at Heavy Muscle Radio, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.